I'm here with Jacq Davis from Epic Yard Farm, and we're going to talk about all the benefits of having a food forest beyond the food. Jacq, thank you so much for having me. I love this space. It's so inspiring. Tell me a little bit about your days living here.
Well, we usually love to start our day in our hot tub, which overlooks the majority of the garden. So we'll spend an hour there. My husband and I will talk about how we will start our day, what's the day gonna look like, and then we'll enjoy the songbirds come in the morning as the sun comes up. It's just a very therapeutic, very relaxing space for us. More than just growing our own food now, it's really a wildlife habitat that we can enjoy right in our backyard.
This yard feels less like the suburbs and more like a nature preserve. And you see nature just wake up and come into your space.
Yeah.
You both work full time.
Yes, we both are remote, so we work from home, but we do have full-time jobs. And that does pose a challenge sometimes to maintain a garden of this size. So I kind of come out as people's like smoke break. I come out and take a garden break in between projects so I can clear my head. It's nice to come out here, observe nature, look at the butterflies and the birds and harvest something, take a little snack, an apple from a tree, and then go right back to work refreshed. So that is really a good benefit of having a little food forest and garden in your backyard.
This doesn't feel like Tempe to me. I hear birds, I see happy wildlife, I've seen butterflies, insects. I feel cooler. This space that Jacq has created is magical. It wasn't like that when you first moved in though, right? Just some gravel, basketball court. Have you affected the weather at all?
Absolutely. We're experiencing cooler zones in the garden. You know, before it was completely wide open, reflective heat from the gravel and the walls.
Phoenix has a heat problem, and the solution isn't more air conditioning. It's vegetation.
Now we have the block walls lined with different trees, so we have lessened that reflective heat, and the wood chips help also reduce that reflective heat.
Trees reduce reflected heat from walls, fences, patios, and sidewalks.
Having the water of the plants, the ground covers, they all play a part of making this space way more comfortable in the summer for Arizona.
Mulch soil beneath a tree canopy can easily be 20 to 40 degrees Fahrenheit cooler than the surrounding areas.
Ever since we start planting in the canopy trees, we can feel the reduction on reflective heat from the hardscapes, the walls, the concretes.
Don't underestimate the impact of small actions. Removing gravel, adding mulch, adding native plants. Those will cool the soil and bring life to your space.
I never measured it. I can feel probably 10 degrees difference between, being amongst the canopy trees and the layering compared to standing out in the middle of the yard, even with the mulch. That was a huge difference, and that makes it much more comfortable to be out here with all the trees around you.
So one of the first things you did was take out a lot of the gravel and add mulch, and just that one change you feel like has changed even the temperature in your yard then?
Yes, absolutely. Just removing the gravel.
Exposed gravel can exceed 150 degrees Fahrenheit in Phoenix in the summer.
I know a lot of people use that as a kind of low maintenance garden feature, but it's not helping with the heat island effect in the city.
It's holding on to that heat. And
yes.
You do have an area of your yard that gets pretty hot. You said the reflected heat and the basketball court, and so you can see a difference in that area of your yard and maybe grow things that tolerate the heat a little bit back there. Mm-hmm. But compared to these other areas that are more lush with vegetation, and how that changes the temperature and the feeling of being outside.
Yes, the feeling of being outside and be comfortable is a huge benefit of having all these trees around. And that's what we're trying to do in the back there, to grow eucalyptus, things that will thrive in the heat, but once they create that canopy and get established as mature trees, that will be another comfortable space to be in.
So even for an area like that, adding trees, vines, like you say, can make a difference in changing that environment. Epic Yard Farm is a successful experiment in seeing how much they can improve the heat island effect in one suburban yard. So when you want to get out in nature, you don't have to go out to the mountains or leave town. You can just go right out to your
Exactly.
backyard.
We can have a quick break of our daily work and the office life into our little little backyard and kind of get lost in our food forest.
This is 3/4 of an acre. You haven't always had this large of a space. Epic Yard 1.0 was just a regular suburban neighborhood, but you were able to create that there as well.
We first started with the front yard and the idea of growing our own food using the water. Instead of grass lawn, we're transferring that to growing something more productive. Then we started working on the backyard where we broke up and hauled out all the concrete from that pool, and we kept the hole that's in the ground and built retaining walls to build a terrace step down garden where you can kind of feel very secluded once you're in that terrace garden, and with all the trees around you, you kind of have a lot more privacy and also feels like you're in a different space completely than just in the middle of the city.
So before it was a concrete jungle kind of with the pool.
Exactly.
And houses around you, and probably a lot hotter as well.
It was very hot. I mean, we don't really go out in the summertime when it was the pool with the concrete deck because of the reflective heat. Even with the pool, it was just too hot to be out there. But once we convert that into a garden space, we can enjoy outdoors in the shade next to our little natural pond in the backyard, even in the middle of summertime.
So you both work full time. This is a huge property. How do you find the time to maintain it? Or have you found things that make it easier to just let the garden kind of do its thing and maintain itself?
That's kind of why we love the permaculture concept, and that inspired us to be able to be comfortable with things go wild and just let it be for a while. You don't have to manicure and constantly pruning and cleaning up, because every little twigs, every log that you leave behind is a shelter for lizards, for different insects. It helps bring in the wildlife, but also bring life into the soil in the whole ecosystem that you're building. Just like how you experience in the forest, you feel it teeming with life, and this is what you can have in your backyard.
You're not worried about every fallen leaf. You're not getting out the leaf blower for every leaf and making sure that
we welcome the leaves, actually, because it creates the in-place organic matter ground cover for us. So we don't mind the littering of the leaves or even dropped fruit. Not at all. It's all part of the ecosystem.
Gardening gets easier. You get better at gardening, your soil improves, the beneficial life and insects come into your garden, and it gets easier. Don't be discouraged if your first year is really tough. It was tough for all of us. Being here, I feel like I can just breathe a little bit deeper and feel just happier. How has this affected your mental health? How does having a garden help you mentally?
It really is very nice to come out after a very stressful day of working and just come out and observe the birds, harvest some fruit, play with the dogs in the backyard, and just kind of truly relax everything. You know, your mind can just wander and observe nature in your backyard. It's almost having National Geographic in your backyard, having this kind of wildlife habitat mixed with a food forest. So it's not quite like a vegetable garden that you're constantly tending. Our model is having nature kind of take care of itself a little bit, because sometimes we'll leave for a few weeks at a time, nobody's here, and all we provide is just water for the plants, and then they take care of themselves because of the companion planting and the ecosystem that we created. So it's also relaxing in a way that you can leave without worrying about your garden and then come back to a thriving garden still.
Got your overalls on.
Yeah.
So are you out here working? Does that benefit your physical? Is this?
Yeah, so it's like we don't have a gym membership because the garden is our gym. I'm constantly digging, hauling things. It is a much bigger yard, so 200 feet walk front to back that get your steps in. But physically, just doing things in the yard really help build your physical capabilities and muscles, and playing in dirt, you feel much more vibrant just being in here working in the garden.
A big thank you to Ultima Replenisher for sponsoring this video. I'm in the garden almost every day, and this time of year, I have to remind myself to keep drinking. You know how it goes. You come outside when it still feels pretty good, and then you notice one thing that needs to be done, and then another, and pretty soon you've been out here a lot longer than you planned on, and it is hot. So I've been trying to make Ultima a part of my daily routine, just like coming out to check on the garden. It's easy to use, it tastes good, and it makes drinking water a little more enjoyable. This is the pina colada flavor, and it's so good. I just add it to cold water with lots of ice, shake it up, and that's it. It's light, it's refreshing, and it's something I'll actually drink, which is the biggest thing for me. I also like that it's 0 sugar, 0 calories, and no artificial sweeteners. And it's made with plant-based flavors and colors. Head to the link in the description below to stay hydrated with Ultima Replenisher. I love that you spend that time in the morning just observing and seeing. And have you noticed more wildlife coming in the more plants you bring? Are there specific plants that you bring in that attract different wildlife?
I love hummingbirds, so I try to plant a lot of plants that will attract them, have them come feed on them, give them water.
What are some of the plants that you found that attract hummingbirds?
They actually really love our rosemary blooms. So I see them on those, and I see them on moringa flowers a lot.
So not just the typical red tubular flowers, you're seeing them on a lot of
different things. So one thing we don't clean up the garden is we have a lot of spider webs, and you will see them collect the spider webs to build their nest with. So that's another benefit of having a wild garden, is you provide also building material, nesting material for the birds, and then they will also eat the bugs. So the mosquitoes, that's another reason to attract hummingbirds. They love catching mosquitoes.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So what other types of wildlife are you trying to encourage in your yard?
We definitely love attracting different type of pollinators like bees, honeybees, native pollinator bees, like mason bees, leafcutter bees, digger bees. That's one of my favorite bees because they come up and they hover and they move really fast, they zigzag. But those are all great pollinators to help our food forest to be even more productive, because you don't want to just rely on honeybees. There's other bees around that can help pollinate all your fruit trees and your crop, like tomatoes and things like that.
Are you seeing those year round, or are those just at specific times of year that you see the different wildlife?
There's some that is more dormant in the winter time, but there's some that is also dormant in the summertime. So that's the benefit of attracting a wide variety of them come into your garden. If you're building a garden that can produce year round, you want all of them to come visit and remember your yard. We have seen different activities through the year from different pollinators.
Designed for you as well as the wildlife and the plants. So if someone has a low maintenance yard and it's just got gravel and turf, but they're realizing that isn't exactly what they thought it would be. It's hotter, they're not going outside, there's no life in their garden. It didn't really work out the way they thought. What would you suggest as maybe some easy ways to start bringing life into your yard?
I would recommend not using gravel and use wood chips instead.
Okay, that's an easy switch.
That is an easy switch, and that will immediately provide cooler environment for even a low maintenance yard compared to gravel. There's gardening methods that use rock to retain heat, to release the heat at night for plants that require a little more warmth. So you don't really want that in your yard if you're already living in somewhere that's hot. The thermal release at night from rocks is not something we really want.
Yeah, we're not trying to hold on to more heat.
Exactly. If you have a good enough layer of wood chips, weed seeds don't actually establish in that, so you don't have to weed as much. Actually, probably way less than gravel, because gravel you still have soil underneath. The seeds will sprout from that, but wood chips, you can just pull it right up. It's very easy. You can rake it and it's all done within minutes.
So you won't be outside spraying Roundup in your gravel, just killing any life that could happen.
Yes.
So start with wood chips. Are there a few easy plants that you would recommend adding?
One of the first plants I recommend is to start with the native trees like the mesquite and palo verde. Those will provide shade, low water use if you want to get started. And once they're established, you can add all kinds of different plants underneath them that could still have access to a good amount of sun and thrive underneath.
So what are some of those kind of lower plants then? If we've got our native tree first and then we're adding some smaller plants, what are the next plants you'd recommend?
Peaches, you can add figs, pomegranate. The mulberry is another canopy tree that you can add if you want to have a canopy tree that's fruiting. Some of the citrus do need some protection in the first few years. And another thing that we recommend is don't be afraid. Once you establish those initial canopy trees, you could prune and train and shape them as your garden grow and evolve. We will let some trees grow really tall and provide shade, and then a few years later, the protection it provides to other trees that's smaller, that's understory, when they take shape into a mature size, we will take down the other trees that's established before sometimes. You know, you don't always have to do that, but we like to shift and change based on how the garden evolves.
This is a food forest. Tell me about the food that you're growing here.
So we grow a lot of different fruits. What we're trying to do is establish some kind of harvest every month through the year. That's a little challenging in the middle of summer, but we're finding a lot of different things that can thrive and produce in the summertime. So we start the year with citrus harvest, and then we have mulberries, and then we have peaches, apples, and figs, followed by things like the Chinese jujube. Through the summer, we have grapes sometimes, and then in the fall, we have a big crop of our date palm dates. We're already kind of filling in all the different months of the year. The biggest thing is we love eating and we love trying different things. So we try to also pick out fruit that is hard to find in the stores, even for varieties within the same things that you can pick out in the store. Like peaches, we have Galaxy peach, that donut peach that was kind of rare in the store. Now they're more common, but when we first started, that was hard to find.
It's hot. What is the best way to cool a yard in the Phoenix metropolitan area?
Vegetation and trees. Trees definitely help if you can get that canopy up, get that dapple shed going. The grass is actually helpful too. Even though they use a lot of water, you can find native ground covers to also provide that layer of cooling effect on the ground besides the wood chips. So we have patches of mint that we let go wild. A lot of gardeners are afraid of mint because they take over their vegetable garden, but in our full forest, we have just fields of mint that grows, and we have mint supply year round. We don't have to go to the grocery store for that. But that creates a cooling effect on the ground that reduces that reflective heat because the greenery really cools the ground. So having the trees, having the ground cover that's green really, really cools the space.
Arizona is a hot desert climate, and that climate is changing. We need to adapt and adjust in our own gardens. Is permaculture high maintenance or low maintenance? Or how do you make it both?
It depends on how you approach it. We don't follow strictly permaculture, but we use that as a kind of a rough guideline. We are not afraid of letting things go wild. That's part of the permaculture inspiration that allow us to be a little low maintenance. The chop and drop of building that organic matter within your property, keep the organic matter here instead of letting it haul away, is part of the low maintenance for us. We don't rake leaves. We're not afraid of things piling up. And the wood chips, all that helps create semi-low maintenance kind of gardening for us.
A garden can be high maintenance, but it doesn't have to be. Do you have to be a gardener to start a garden or to start something like this?
Absolutely not, because neither my husband and I were gardeners before. We were complete newbies. It's finding what gardening method that works for you. For us, it was permaculture. For some, it could be more conventional gardening. We do encourage people to try the permaculture idea, the polyculture that we utilize also, which is mixing plants. Don't plant them in rows, because the concept is if you could create confusion to the pests by not growing, one less lettuce after another, you don't give them a buffet to go down the row as they eat. There's different ideas and different methods of gardening. If you can try out different ones, maybe in little sections of your garden with different methods and principles, and then see which one works for you in your daily life, in your daily routine. You absolutely don't have to be a gardener. There's so much information out there. We can learn so much from you too. Like, Your videos are really helpful. So there's so much information to help you get started.
No, I couldn't agree more. And just learn as you grow. Don't be afraid to get started and learn as you go along. Don't be afraid to make mistakes.
Yes.
We've all killed a few plants. I've killed lots of plants. Have you killed any plants?
Oh my goodness.
Don't be afraid to start because you're afraid to kill a plant.
And like I said, sometimes it's just an unhealthy plant. There's always going to be that plant that's just not healthy to start with.
We'll blame it on the plant.
Exactly.
If something isn't working, it's okay to pivot. Learn what you can from that experience and take that with you as you try something else. You moved here in 2019 and you've seen the changes that you have brought. What if everyone did this? Maybe not this big, but what if we could have everyone just do a little bit? Would that change things?
That will absolutely help cool the city. Just having that green space throughout the city will help everybody feel more comfortable, and it will really give us relief from that summer heat.
And we don't all have 3/4 of an acre, but whatever space we have, we can make a difference in that yard to the wildlife in our yard. We can cool our own yard and begin by cooling our neighborhood. And just start there, start somewhere.
Yes, and that also give your family a comfortable space to be out and enjoy your yard.
Well, thank you. You've given us some good tips to get started, and I feel like if someone could be here and experience that, they would definitely want to start having some of the benefits of this in their own yard, even if it's on a small scale, bringing that life into your yard, cooling down your yard, and even just that mental health. I love the image of you guys starting your day, watching the life come into your garden. Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you for being here.